Ding dong, it's Uncle Says. Welcome to Uncle Says, a weekly podcast discussion of what it's like to make short films while living here in China. You can check out those short films on our YouTube channel, Hello Uncle Foreigner. Give us a like on YouTube, if you remember.
Not Facebook.
On YouTube. And yeah, check them out. This week, I am Emily, as always. And with me in the back is Peter.
Woo!
And we are going to be talking about the importance of lighting your videos well. Not really a how-to, more of a philosophical approach and what we've learned so far. We are still learning a lot.
So we're going to enlighten you.
We are coming to you live to tape from lovely Luzhou, Sichuan, China. Spring has sprung and it's been in the 80s for the past 2 days, which is Luzhou spring. Beautiful blue sky days, which is rare, so we've been soaking it up. And actually we are coming to you in the afternoon for once.
Yeah, show off your beautiful view.
We're trying out a different time of day so I don't have to stay up till midnight uploading our live stream. So let's get started with how's your uncle? This weekend here in China is the Qingming Festival, which is a holiday where you go to your ancestors' graves, clean them up, burn a little paper money, wish for their spirits to come home, pour out liquor. Is that what you're signing to me? I think you might be right. I believe, and I don't know enough about either holiday to say for sure, but in my limited American understanding, it's similar to how the Day of the Dead is celebrated in November in Mexico. But my ignorance is palpable, so if you know any different, let me know. For us, it's just a day off of work. For Peter and I, it's just a day off of work because we don't have ancestors here in China that we would go to their grave and sweep. And actually, here's what I do know about. It's a Buddhist holiday, and the government was not always so keen on it, so it was only officially recognized as a holiday in 2008. And so as such, I don't know that every Chinese person does the actual grave sweeping. Every Chinese person does take a day off. But like I asked my friend whose wife is Chinese, does her family celebrate? And he says, well, yeah, her parents go and sweep off her grandparents' graves, but because her parents are still alive, obviously, she doesn't do anything about it, which to me, okay, that's how that works. The way it affected me is I asked at the gym if they would be open, and they said yes, but I did not ask at the gym if the classes would be taught. So I went to my Saturday morning yoga class, which didn't happen. Oh, poor me. It's a tough life for me. But we've been enjoying the time off, so that's Qingming Festival to me. What else has been going
on? Nice weather, holiday.
Yeah, I mean that's the big headline, is that
we can go outside.
It's beautiful and nice, which is funny. Like to us, Peter and I, we're like, it's beautiful, and Chinese people are like, it's too hot. The Luzhou people are like, oh, already it's over. It's too hot. If they do walk outside, they all have their sun umbrellas. And when you go to the park, everyone's like clustered under the shade trees and nobody walks in the sun except for us. So that's
I think I got a little burnt yesterday.
I think you did too. I wear sunscreen. Yeah, so that's how your uncle is. Let's take a look at conducting business. Okay, so if you've been following our channel, hello Uncle Foreigner.
And you should be.
And you should be. Hello Foreigner is where we post our vlog videos. But if you've been following either, you may know already that we're in the middle of a grand experiment where we are reposting videos we made and posted last year alongside newer videos that we've made and posted this year as we make them. And it's been interesting, and we've tried a couple different tactics to, we kind of want to get the process of posting the old videos as fast as possible so we can get to all new content all the time. But we go back and forth on whether, because they're good videos.
Yeah, we love our videos. We
don't want to
dump them.
cram them all in a sock and have them get lost. Again, the whole point of starting over was that these videos didn't get enough attention the first time around, and so we're trying things differently to give them more attention this time around. But a problem that we are running into now is that the pace at which we are posting these videos is different. We posted them one a week last year, and we posted them several times a week this year. So we are out of sync with the time that we made them in last year. For example, to make this clear, it is April now, but the videos we're posting are from June, July, and August. And some of them are so specifically about the summer that it feels really weird to post them now.
Yeah. We have a string of them that are all about pools, and the pool isn't even open yet.
Yeah. And then some mention specific holidays that haven't happened yet, and some of it is one side of just post them now is once you post them on YouTube, you'll have a small burst where they line up with the correct time, and then they'll be out of sync forever. But on the other hand, I know that it just snowed in the northeast of the United States. I don't want to be talking about swimming pools. That just seems
rude,
mean. But for example, we did post one where I mentioned I was going to America, and that is a trip that already took place in September of last year. So one of our commenters commented oh, have a good trip, and I had to write back I already had a good trip, but it was good, thanks. Retroactive thanks. But so we've been talking a bit about how we should handle videos that are so far out of time, and what we've kind of settled on is swapping the fall and the summer. So posting the videos we made in the fall now to give the summer videos a chance to more line up with the actual time, and to avoid the problem of posting fall videos at the height of summer.
Yeah, but it's still not going to work out. It's still too crammed in, so.
Yeah.
So now we're getting even closer to putting them all into one big group of the summer's going to come out when it's, we're almost there, so there's nothing else we can really do. And what do we do with our Thanksgiving video?
Yeah, and some of those, we'll have to decide case by case. Maybe we do hold that one till Thanksgiving.
Or not.
Or not.
Who knows?
We're not deciding that right now. No. But yeah, so the strategy we've adopted this week was that we took some videos from the fall that mentioned that, school just started, which obviously it didn't. Although I did.
Not too far off. It's just a different semester.
The different term just started a month ago. So we kind of made a batch this week that was more thematic rather than temporally apt. If you want to, can you read off those titles?
Our titles are starting with 3 Ways I Survived China, What Time Is It in China, Making Weird Noises at the Gym, Fighting in the Foothills of Himalayas, Still Shy in China, It's China, so get used to it. And by the time this is up, our last one, dun dun dun, go over and check it out.
Yeah. But so the theme of this little group, time is new, but the rest of them are kind of big picture surviving China. And of course, our point of view is not we're ever going to tell you any kind of how-to or advice, but more just our big experience that shape how we live here in China and different experiences we've had. So they may mention, like, school was canceled because it was too hot, I think is one of them.
Yeah.
Which is not the case right now, although it's getting hotter.
You'll find out tomorrow. Your students may already be complaining that
Yeah,
it's too hot outside.
I had a student tell me it was too hot, and I was like, "You are a crazy kid." But yeah, so this batch of videos is big picture China stuff. And I think that's, going forward, we're going to have to find those kind of resonances rather than like a one-to-one correspondence with what's actually happening.
The good thing is that going forward, it isn't too much longer. We're nearing the end.
Yeah, we have like
a few weeks of putting stuff up.
15 videos left.
Something like that, yeah. And then we're all new.
Yeah. The other thing that batching these videos together does for us is that it drives our profile up in the algorithm, in the eyes of the algorithm. So we get like more attention in general overall by posting a video every day, which we enjoy. We're in the middle of a surge right now, which I think is due to that and the Facebook ads that we talked about last week.
Only being 3 months out, we're still so small that like every little boost, we're not going to get any huge numbers from one video. So like a little boost from a little one and a little boost to another might give us enough like oomph to get over a hump into another.
But we're still like getting a subscriber a day, which is for our size, that's big. Yeah. So we're approaching 90.
Yeah,
which took us
86. That
took us a year to do last year. Now we've done it in 3 months. So ta-da! Go us. Oh, and then the one last thing we have to say about this, and so we're making a big push to get noticed, and part of that is making our titles maybe a little more, and they're not, I'll admit this, they're not sensational at all.
We're not great at clickbait.
But I think we have made an effort to make them kind of more aggressively like, hey, look over here. Including an imperative in the title, or kind of, it's hard because we don't want to like get into a discussion about like what's wrong with China, because nothing's wrong. Everything's wrong with everywhere. So that's not everything's wrong. But like 3 ways I survived China, and then it's a much less confrontational video about how we learn the language, how we connect with people, and how we, go shopping, I think was the third story in that. But like it's much
smaller and it's more personal.
It's kind of a grabbier title because we need the eyeballs to come in.
Right.
Because we are somewhat of an acquired taste, or maybe not even, we're just like not mainstream, so we need to dig through everybody out there to find our audience, and so that's our strategy.
And nicely, it's happening. We've got a few.
Oh yeah.
We've got a few people that are coming on that are really interested in what we're doing, so that's all exciting. And we know that we're not going to, be fighting PewDiePie or anything anytime soon. So that's okay.
Right. Yeah, that's not what we're aiming for, but we are aiming for more than 0, which we're getting. We're getting.
We're more than 0.
It's going well, and so let's get deeper into homeschool, film school. So we're going to talk to you about lighting, but first a little derail, sidebar about failure, which will lead us into lighting. This week we had some pretty significant things go wrong with, bad footage, equipment malfunctions.
We're still learning green screen.
Yeah, things came out disappointingly bad. We ordered equipment that was not exactly what we expected, and it just like all in a row was a little bit demoralizing, but then we figured out, to get over it, get over it. To get a little philosophical, there's no reason to make art. That's just a given. It's frosting on your life. I mean, there's every reason to make art, but really, there's no one asked us to do this. We could easily not do this. And so it does not feel good when, like, the thing you're doing voluntarily just falls apart. But we reframed it. We wallowed first. And then we reframed it as, like, negative data is still data. This is still a learning opportunity. This still, like, pushes the project forward. So, like, for example, we had a lighting setup that turned out didn't look good. And so Peter is madly, this is a video that hasn't come out yet, Peter is madly working to make it look good. But it was a bummer, and we thought about reshooting it, and then we decided that's not what this is for. But it was bad enough that reshooting it was an option that we considered. But it is like, you can wallow in your mistake and then just let that drag you down and kill all your momentum, or like use that as a jumping off point to make the next one even better.
Right. Well, I guess in the philosophical sense that you're talking, you can let it stop you, or you can get mad and figure out a way to fight back and make something out of that.
Yeah. Or
create rather than just give up.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's easy to say, it's hard to do, but that, like, we are making these YouTube videos so we get better at our craft, and making mistakes is part of getting better. And now, like, we've learned some lessons that we're never going to make those mistakes again.
When some of your mistakes are like, I bought the wrong thing. Like, what are you going to do with that? You return it. But you're going to be mad for the afternoon.
Yeah. And like there was maybe more than 3 mistakes this week. One of them was I bought a little adapter nut to go from one size to one size of camera mount, 3/8 inch to 1/4 inch. But I actually needed the other way around. And I can't say it. I'm having trouble saying it, but like now I know for a fact cameras are 1/4 inch, lights are 3/8 of an inch.
There you go. That's our tech segment.
Yeah, I'm always going to remember that because I made that mistake and I had to order the part twice. Fortunately, that was pretty cheap. But yeah, so that's we're dusting ourselves off from some mistakes that we made, and we're choosing to see failure as a learning tool.
Learn to fail.
Learn to fail.
Then you can
fail
succeed.
to learn. But yeah, so lighting is a big thing we are focusing on now. And so I want to start out by just breaking down our gear for a little bit. We have bought the cheapest lights you can buy because we are doing this all on the super cheap. But we have 2 LED lights and then a 3 light set of soft boxes. And one of those soft boxes has a boom arm so that we can have it up and then overhead, which has been useful for our background lighting. And one thing I very quickly learned is that cheap lights still light. That's not what you're paying for when you pay for more expensive lighting. What you get with more expensive lighting is durability, equipment that doesn't fall apart, and even like we bought the lights that came with stands. These stands are almost garbage. The light with the boom light, when we have the boom extended, just like cants over to the side. That it like
it's pretty sad.
It's hilarious. And so this is in my research now I learned you can pay up to thousands of dollars for lights, but you can also pay up to thousands of dollars for stands too. Like that's how variable in quality they can be. These stands were free, and they feel free. And I think the next investment we make in equipment is going to be a little higher, maybe not thousands of dollars of light stands,
$1,000.
but a little higher quality stands. Our lights, like I said, they still provide light, so they're not a failure. One of our LED lights is kind of, there's a section of bulbs at the top that's starting to blink out, but it's still light, so it still works. And that's how a shoestring operation is going to work.
You're seeing them work right now.
Yeah. Don't I look beautiful? But as Peter likes to call it, it's our Millennium Falcon held together with duct tape and string. And that's how we can do this for really, really cheap.
Yeah, we got no Patreons. We got no backers. It's just the skin of your teeth.
But I would say, from the knowledge I've learned, pay for real stands. That's going to help you so much. And that's what we're going to do. And then, so the challenges that we face, we have two because of the green screen. One is light the green screen, and one is light me. And actually, if I'm going to talk about it a little bit now.
Okay.
Part of our failure of this week's footage that isn't ready yet is that we spent too much time lighting the green screen, not enough time lighting the subject. Classic mistake. Don't do that. But what we've learned about green screen lighting is you just have to get even lighting across the board, and then your green screen will be one touch, blammo, it's done. And we're getting a little bit better at that, but we got so into that this week that we didn't pay attention.
It's overlit you.
Yeah. And then for me, all we're doing is a 3-point system. It's very simple. You can look it up. Everyone has a tutorial on how to do it. And so 3-point system, you have a key light, which is your main light. You have a fill light, which helps give you some kind of shadow and texture. And that light's usually turned down a little bit. And then you have a background light, which goes overhead into the back, which both pops the subject off the background, and if you're working with a green screen, helps give you crisp edges between your subject and the fake background that you're putting in. And so we're just experimenting to get that ideal look that we want to get out of both of those.
There's an art to it, turns out.
Yeah. And to say nothing of like changing the camera settings, we're not there to adapt to the amount of light that you have.
And our cameras barely have settings.
Yeah. But it's something like 2 months ago even, I think, if you were to ask me about lighting, I would be like, I don't know how to do that, and I don't know how to learn about doing that. And the way you learn about doing that is just by like buying some lights and putting them places and shooting stuff. Just like everything else.
And YouTube.
Yeah, that's where YouTube... Oh, you mean YouTube tutorials? I mean, yeah, YouTube tutorials.
Tutorials.
You can have that.
Don't have that. Take it.
No, that's ours. Yeah, YouTube tutorials. I can't not say it now. The tutorials are so helpful. And then I was going to say the discipline of having someone see your video every week because you can publish it somewhere helps us keep going, which we've mentioned in the past. So you just have to dig in there and do it. And the problem with short films as a hobby is that, like I said, the cheap equipment is cheap. And so it is kind of expensive to get in there and experiment. But that's why we live in China, so that we have money to do that. Oh, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but why lighting is important. So filmmaking rule number 1 is have good sound or no one's going to watch. People will forgive a picture that doesn't look quite right, but they will not forgive sound that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that's why we can turn this into a podcast.
Yeah. So which we've taken care of that with the little Zoom H1N
Sure.
Pro field recorder. We could do better, but this is good enough for what we're doing. But then, so once you've got sound, you need sound. You absolutely cannot not have sound. Lighting is what makes you look pro or amateur, and so that's where we are in our journey. And we coincidentally, or not, because we watch a lot of TV. We saw, I think, 2 good examples this week of how lighting can be used not just to look professional, but to be part of your palette. And one of them was the first episode of Jordan Peele's new Twilight Zone, which it was a story about stand-up comedians and just like performance as art and what it takes to do that and what you give.
Chilling.
It was chilling. It was fine. But the thing that struck me is that it had a really striking lighting to mimic this stage, the idea of on stage, but that all times everyone was like really super dramatically lit with like one side in light and one side in shadow to really emphasize like that lighting is happening. You don't always want to call attention to the art that you're doing, but I think that was a conscious choice to make the lighting stand out, to make you think of like always being under the glare of the lights. And another thing that was striking about this episode is that the cast was largely actors of color who were all very beautifully lit, which is not always the case. Everything is racist, including lighting. You can read about that history online.
Yeah, there's plenty out there. But it exists, and go look it up.
Yeah, and you can watch movies and see that the actors of color, who are often the supporting actors, but again, because racism, are just not as well lit as the main white star is. So it was cool to see, one, that the lighting style was so neat, and then like 2, that they adequately lit their actors of color, which everybody should be doing. And then the second example, what we do in the shadows was a New Zealand kind of comedy vampire movie that is now a television series on FX. It's
you know the people that are involved because it's the guy that directed the last Thor movie.
Taika Waititi.
Yep.
And then Matt Berry is like a beloved British actor. If you watch any Britcoms, you've seen him. It's a vampire comedy that's like dry as toast, but super funny. Not scary. If you're worried about that, I'm worried about that. And what they've done is gone for a much more subdued color palette. Their lighting is much less showy, but the aspect I wanted to point out about this program is because they're vampires, they're all like 200, 300, 600 years old. They're usually, all the scenes take place at night, and their lighting is all candlelight or street lamps outside. So the lighting does a really good job of not calling attention to it, but that it's this softer, lower light, but it still makes everything, it manages to be like dark and vibrant at the same time, and like bring...
Essentially what you end up getting is it looks like the corners of every room and surface are like painted with like a big thick black brush, so everything is inky around brightly colored areas that are like the face.
Yeah, and the colors they wear are all very muted and earthy tones, and it's a very specific palette that through their lighting you can see it, but it doesn't feel like, wait a minute, it's just candles in this room. This room shouldn't be that bright. Which I think candlelight is pretty hard to capture accurately on film. Within the scene you can see there's like hundreds of candles in the room, which is...
It takes a lot of light. It also, light moves, so... Yeah.
So that's where we're aspiring to. We're not quite there yet. But the things you can do with lighting, that's where it all comes from. Video is just dumping light into a lens, so that's our big next step to take. And another interesting thing about this process is, because we were talking about What We Do in the Shadows, and then AP Bio is another show that is also very, like, muted color tones, not flashy, very, like...
Very soft.
Soft, that's the word I'm looking for. Whether they achieve these effects through lighting alone, or are they doing some post-processing?
Or set design.
Yes, and set design. And I don't know about these specific programs, but I do think it's interesting that back in the day, pre-digital, it would have to be all your lighting and set design and costuming, because you didn't have all this processing. There's some amount of exposure to the film, or you could do different techniques afterwards, but you just had to, like, be good at lighting.
Well, yeah, if you've ever taken, like, anybody has taken their phone and just, like, filmed your friends or your family, like, sitting in a car or something that's not outdoors, and you look back on it and you're like, I can't see anybody's face or anything. It's usually a mess, depending on your light.
But now we all know through Instagram, you can put any filter on anything. You could do a ton of manipulation in post using... Instagram, everybody has that. It's free.
Stuff that used to take me in Photoshop, like, hours to do in, like, 1995, like, it's a button that anyone can press now.
Yeah. Which is not to say the lighting doesn't matter, because, this is a classic... Fix it in post is what, like, every inexperienced producer says, and, like, you can end up with a real mess that way. You can't fix bad footage in post, as we're finding out.
Although we've tried many times.
You can, but only if your goal isn't realism.
Yeah.
Only if it's acceptable for it to look totally insane.
Right.
But so our current skill goal is to deliver the cleanest possible footage that Peter then can add these After Effects to get the exact look that we're going for. And then maybe beyond that, achieve a little more of that with lighting. But right now, I think the important thing is to figure out how to consistently always deliver the cleanest footage that you can manipulate.
Clean palette.
Anything you want to say?
I think the things you can do with light, your new book will be coming out next year.
Yeah.
On to commentary.
Like we said this week, we will, by the time you watch this, have posted 7 videos. That's a video every day. So we're not going to talk in detail about all of them, but we'll single out some.
A couple of highlights?
First of all, let's talk about Time, which is our brand new video, our giraffe video for the week. We've been following along on the basic rigmarole that we've set for ourselves, is that, like, I collect notes throughout the week, make a brief outline, and then go into...
This is our one new video of the week.
Yeah. So go like it on YouTube.
Only on YouTube.
Forget
about Facebook.
I'm promoting. Yeah, so that's... I collect my thoughts throughout the week, and then we go sit down Friday afternoon and just improv it all out. And was this...
What time is it in China?
Yeah, what time is it in China? This is the second week now. We were doing it in one big chunk, and then this week we did it in small segments.
We actually, you put it together as segments.
Right.
You didn't.
Right.
We didn't chop it up.
Oh, right. I mean, in the actual filming, we filmed 2 minutes, then stopped and reset, and filmed and it's also the week before shoes. No.
The ice.
Ice water. Last week's. We restructured it after the fact to have the main story go at the end, and this week we composed it that way with the main story at the end. And I don't think you can tell, to be honest.
Yeah.
It works, and it seems to be reaching people in the same way.
The reason for it, like we said last week, is for our SEO and to get people interested in the story with a theme of the thumbnail and what are you buying into and when do you get that in the story? Is it the beginning or the end?
Don't give your payoff away at the beginning. Make it at the end.
The first week, the ice one, we blundered into it and we chopped it up and redid it. This week, we composed it that way.
Yeah.
And does it really matter? The numbers are still out there.
Yeah. Well, I think the tricky thing is that with this wide outreach to a bigger audience, we're reaching more and more people, but that also means that more and more people are clicking on and then deciding within the first minute that this isn't for them. So I think until we actually have a larger dedicated audience who knows who we are, we're still going to see a big drop off at the beginning.
Right. If we start off with animation, which we're like, oh, cool, we're doing animation. I don't want to see a cartoon.
Yeah.
We're like, it's only 3 seconds of a cartoon. Don't go anywhere.
But so the big thing we incorporated this week is Peter and I have been talking behind the scenes about what makes the giraffe character special and different, and me. In real life, I have this high, sweet voice, but I don't know. Sweet flavors. I don't know that I'm like a super docile, sweet person. And I mean, people tend to receive me as such just because I sound this way. So this may be therapy. This may be why I've developed a somewhat snarky, sarcastic edge to what I say, because the way I say it is so often received as gentle and inconsequential. To the point, like, when I'm angry at people, I have to tell them that I am angry at you now, because they can't tell from my tone of voice. Yeah, which is maddening. But anyway, so that's who I really am.
Angry.
And angry. I'm angry. So we've decided we want to incorporate a little more of that edge into the giraffe, and also on the tip of, we want to be the existential vlog. We don't want to just tell you, this is what life in China is like, and here's how we explain it. Just like more philosophically, in our conversations, we're like considering the big issues. And so this was our effort to kind of bring both that sassy attitude and that existential flavor into what we're talking about.
Well, the biggest question always is, for any kind of expat, is like, why did you move there? Why did you leave home? Why did you move to China? Is the biggest question for
us. And I say, just let's stop at why. Why are?
There you go.
And so, I mean, we're kind of goofing around, but kind of not. Like, I get into a little trippy headspace of like, does time exist? How does time pass for you? And these are things, like, I really do think about that all the time. And I had somewhat of a enlightenment little thought during my week, and I tried to capture that thought, which now I can't even remember. I mean,
time slips through your hands.
Yeah, I have the feeling of what I experienced, but like after it happened, it was pretty much gone from me too. And so in the video, I was a little disappointed, like I wasn't able to like precisely explain the nature of my enlightenment message. But then Peter pointed out, I'm not a guru. That's not what we're going for. It kind of works better for us and for entertainment value that it is like this fumbling towards an idea, because
we don't have any answers. The giraffe has no
I don't
answers
want to give you answers, but if I can prompt questions in your mind, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And if I can make you laugh, that's also
even better.
Going for. So that's where we were going with giraffe this week. Was there anything? Oh, you were in it too.
Oh,
that's
right.
The first
premiere.
appearance of Peter in the giraffe series.
Yep.
Which feels very comic book
and comic book version too.
Yeah, Yeah, that's right.
Not that I haven't been. If you look through back the old videos, I am in many of them.
Yeah, you can get glimpses or
there's hidden
full-on
cameos, but then now I'm here. I'm ready.
Yeah, so Peter had a line, and Peter had his cartoon version join me in the intro.
Get my shot at the big time.
So I'm happy to share my screen time. Less screen time for me is always better. And so that was really exciting about that video.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's very zippy.
Yeah. And then
next video
I want to talk about is Get Used to It.
You're skipping over fighting in the foothills?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do that third.
Okay.
So Get Used to It, again, is very existential. Is a video that we shot in August of last year, but it also addresses existential themes of like when stuff goes wrong in China, you can get mad about it or you can like accept it and move on. Is the message of that video.
Yeah.
But that was part of our goal with that video, and during that time that we were experimenting with, was taking these stories, you know, we were happy with the kind of stories we were telling, but putting them in an interesting visual location. And so this one, we went out to the playground. There's a little playground a couple buildings down in our apartment complex. And as I was wrestling with these philosophical concepts, I was also like climbing my way around this little slide jungle gym, which I think, you know, it came out really well.
I liked it.
Yeah. You shot me, and then I think I also was holding a camera selfie style.
If you watch the whole video, which you should,
yeah,
at the end you can see the second camera and the entire process that it went through of you.
Oh, that's right. The primary camera is selfie cam.
Yep.
That's right.
The second one is the end credits.
Yeah.
Where you can see how silly you look as an adult.
Yeah. And then we had a little old lady interaction.
Yeah.
That we used in the intro. That she like saw what we were doing and was just like, "What are you weirdos doing out
I think
here?"
she's in the outro. Anyways.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's part of it. And I do remember that it was August and it was like so hot. It might have been like 100 degrees Fahrenheit that day. And if you watch closely, you can watch me get sweatier and sweatier in the video.
Which is, I mean, that's all an artistic choice. The idea of what you're going through of like, sometimes life just gets harder and harder and harder in China.
Yeah.
Just as you're climbing through all these hoops and literal hoops.
Yeah, and you can struggle with that. You can struggle against that, or you can kind of not give up, because that's not the right answer. But if you kind of just let it take you,
and that's existential.
Yeah.
Stories from 𝗖𝗵cie.
But I mean, the real piece of what we were doing at that time in this August period of time was trying to make our videos a little more visually interesting, because we felt with past videos that we had pretty much mastered the 3-camera talking head. Even like the talking head out on the sidewalk, we liked those. We were really into
like
those.
And with like the walk and talk stuff.
Yeah.
We did that, and that's easy enough. Just walk around. But we were looking for something more exciting to happen.
And that's kind of our process. Again, YouTube is
doesn't reward that.
Oh, well, I was going to say YouTube is our film school.
Yeah.
That's where we're trying out our different ideas. We don't have to have a unified aesthetic, because we're not selling this to anyone. We're making this for ourselves. We would like it if other people liked it. But so once we kind of master a concept, we usually...
Or at least get good enough that we're pleased.
Yeah, maybe not master. Maybe master is pretty strong. But we are always kind of changing things up. And so that's
why our videos look different from video to video. Because we get bored with one and we move on.
And then, so growing out of that, then we get to... So 4 videos this week kind of fall into this next category. I will name them for you. Or maybe you can name them. Himalayas?
Yeah, fighting in the foothills of the Himalayas, and a normal massage.
Yeah, and then we had 3 ways I survived China.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I survived China, yeah.
And then gym noises. What did we end up calling that?
Gym noises, making weird noises at the China gym.
And then shy.
Still shy in China.
Yeah, so these 4 videos came a little bit after into the fall, is that correct?
Give or take.
So first we pushed it in August of like changing up our scenery, trying to pick more visually interesting locations, but generally it was like one story at a time. So the expansion on that we came into in the fall was that maybe it's more than one story, and maybe connecting these stories is these interstitials and these different segments that we had thought of.
Piecing together segments to create a theme.
Yeah. So gym noises was also in August.
Mm-hmm.
Gym noises and shy, I think, happened.
Gym noises first, then shy.
Yeah, they happened before I took my trip back to America, and so they have. This is where we kick off. Himalayas too, I guess. Maybe they all took place.
Or we're getting.
Sorry,
just pick one.
Okay, so I take back that I was going anywhere. Sorry about that. So yeah, so they all had these vlog style stories that we had come up with, and then the glue was, we called them the interstitials. I mean, they're interstitials, and they came from just footage I took around Luzhou that maybe I had started putting on Instagram, little short videos of like a woman selling vegetables.
Some of them are from the archives, from really old stuff, from like when we first moved here, like whatever it is, finding little bits and pieces of tiny stories, much along the lines of And Then Now, but the tiny, smaller
this is like
one-shots.
proto And Then Now.
Yeah.
Because that directly led to the creation of And Then Now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we had these little slices of life, China life, that we could stick in there that I was pleased with, because it, like, I was always uncomfortable with the idea that I am explaining China to you. That's always what bugged me about. I don't want that to be my role. So and it's also like egregious, I think, to have a vlog about China that's really only you see my white face. Like, that doesn't feel fair. So it was a way to like bring China more directly into what we were talking about.
Show you what we see rather than just, I mean, you know what we look like.
Yeah. And so that I felt like, even though they're little short clips, that they were really important in adding to the texture of what we were doing. And then Himalayas, I want to talk about that opening that Peter put together. Actually comes from Lijiang, right? The year we lived in Lijiang.
We put it together because it was a classroom that I had, and we went out and we shot. We had the kids write a script.
Yeah.
And then
so Peter was still teaching at that time, and this was like a school project that he was working on with his class.
Right.
Yeah. So like he said, they put together this script. They wrote this story all together, and then our school.
The kids wrote it themselves.
Yeah. The school in Lijiang was a mess, but it was just in this beautiful location, and it was right across the street from the Black Dragon Pool Park. Just so gorgeous. And so we took the boys over there one afternoon and we filmed not a lot of lines. Oh, because the problem with the project was that the same kids wouldn't come every week.
Oh yeah, so they would write.
Right,
they would write characters, and then like next week, only half of them would show up, or different kids would show up. So we couldn't really act out the whole play. So we would take that one afternoon. We took the couple of kids that were there that were most excited about it. We took them and their parts, and we tried to piece something as best together with a 2-camera setup.
Yeah, and then Jack found this stick. The boy carrying the big stick that was Jack. He just found this stick that, like, they started play fighting with, because that's what boys do. And it came out like so beautiful. So we
Good lighting.
Yeah. The natural light there really worked in our favor. And the project never got finished due to the aforementioned problem of, like, not everybody showed up.
What we were originally going to do is we were going to make a movie with the kids to show off their English.
Yeah.
And then we would show it to the parents.
Yeah.
But that was...
And then it fell apart because there was not consistency in who came to class.
But we still had the footage.
But we had the footage, so Peter edited it together into this little 2-minute, like...
Epic. Soundtrack
and
all.
It was, like, maybe a couple hours of footage.
Yeah, probably. Right? Yeah.
That this is the best 2 minutes of it. There's not, like, more movie to it than that.
A lot of it's just us goofing around with kids.
But it really did come out like they made a little kung fu opening.
Yeah.
And it was, you know...
Yeah, I wish we had their numbers so we could track them down now and show it to them.
Right.
Look how cool you look.
But so I think that's really neat, and I'm really proud of that piece.
Yeah, one of our shining moments out of our year in Lechon.
Yeah, and that was not Himalayas altogether. That current video.
That was just the opening.
Yeah, that was just the opening. That's not the first time that we had worked together, all these different stories and interstitials, but I feel like that was the first really big one that was more than just 2 stories and some random photos.
Well, we actively took that idea and pieced it together for this, of like, we're changing it up this week. This is our new direction. So
and that was like kind of a calling card of the new Uncle Foreigner.
Right.
But that every 6 weeks we kind of have a new Uncle Foreigner. But that was the dawning of that age, I would say.
Aquarius.
And I think we'll have more to say about how this evolves next week, because we have more videos that take that concept further.
Mm-hmm.
But I would then, to bring it back to the present, that the current evolution of the giraffe, by incorporating all these different segments, that's kind of, the giraffe was something new we came up with over Spring Festival break, and I was really disappointed to say goodbye to putting together these segmented Uncle shorts with these different transitions and different segments and different
it's closer to putting
that
together
structure.
Yeah, a show or an actual story. So, and that's what you love to do, is write a story. So this was pretty close to like coming up with a full narrative. Yeah,
but so now we have the giraffe character, and we're incorporating a little more of that structure, and we will continue to do so, which I'm like really pleased with. But so you can see that structure that's starting to come back in our current videos. That's where that structure originated, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Pomelo is the next I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is my husband almost died in China, which is true.
Bum, bum.
That video will be up. So
we're putting up right after this.
Yeah, you're in your present, it's up. In our present, it is not yet up. But
once again.
So it's a very personal video of the anniversary of Peter going into the hospital and being very sick. And my approach to it was, again, very existential, very looking death in the face through the lens of time passing and different fruits coming into season, in and out of season. And this was after a long time of not writing out full scripts. I did actually script this one because it was an important story to me. And I wanted to get exactly what I wanted to say. I felt this was a subject that, like, leaving something out might make it mean not what I want it to mean. So I did...
It might be the closest thing that you've done to a real, like, full essay of some kind.
Yeah. So I did write out a full script. And then I read the script to Peter, and he saw these different shifts in it. So we which then conveniently I didn't have to read 10 pages at once. I could read I could memorize a page at a time, and then we'd have these. We took breaks. that's how filming works. No one sits down in one shot to film an entire thing unless you have a teleprompter.
But it made for a nice afternoon in the park.
Yeah, so we just like, whoa, I don't know what that noise was. We'll find out later. Yeah, we took our gear all out to the park. We shot segment by segment, and the pomelos are spiritually significant.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, the pomelos are a metaphor. And they came up in my mind because the weekend before we shot this video, I actually did go out to my friend's countryside house, and they had a pomelo tree, so they sent me home with 5 pomelos. And so we had like 5 pomelos that, if you don't know, a pomelo is like a big grapefruit.
You'll see it in the video.
Yeah, you can see it in the video. They're huge. And I don't think... I brought them to school to give like everybody, my fellow teachers, some snack, because there was no way I was going to eat them all by myself. But they made for good props, so we brought them all out to the park and shot in these different locations. And again, choosing visually interesting locations. You can see we're walking, we're static. This like was bringing together a written script and these visual things we learned, and it was like this really important emotional story for me and for Peter.
Yeah, it was a tough one to get through.
Yeah, but it was happier to get through that than the actual sickness that prompted those memories. So.
Catharsis.
Yeah. And again, it's a hard one to sell. Like Peter is right that we do need to call it something like "My husband almost died in China," because that's what's going to get people to click. Because an existential meditation on the nature of time through the lens of fruit passing, I admit
doesn't roll off the lips.
It's not attractive. It's not going to catch your eye and draw you in. So we're hoping that a somewhat sensational title will draw you into a thoughtful exploration, and that maybe like if you're hooked in, that you will try to engage with my more gentle meanderings. I hope. I don't know. It's a story that means a lot to both of us.
Well, and this and the other videos that you've talked about all kind of in this week kind of clumped together, and I mean, some of them you're being a little more aggro, some of them you're being a little kind. The giraffe is back and forth as to what kind of character that you're being perceived as. So it's sort of like this is a week of what's the heart of what we are talking about.
It's a week of deep thoughts.
Yeah.
Deep thoughts about China and life.
And we thought getting some of that out of the way in a nice big clump, because we want to move on.
Yeah.
So hopefully that if we can get some people on board now, then we can be like, all right, let's get on with that and let's have some fun.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing about YouTube is the algorithm places such importance on the first 24 and then 48 hours that it's hard not to get caught up in like, who's watching this video now? Mm-hmm. But the real truth is those videos go up and then they're up and they like collect views over time.
Yeah, sometimes they come back around. I've heard people say that like it's like 8 years later that all of a sudden a video goes viral. Because whatever happens in life, something has happened that people get interested in.
So the timing is somewhat important, but it's not the ultimate importance. And people will come and find your videos later, and all of the videos that we put up continue to grow. Mm-hmm. So that's also something to remember.
So yeah, that's part of just putting these in the right order.
Yeah.
That to make them attractive to grow an audience right now, it doesn't really like matter if they're in order or not. We're just trying to put them in the right way to get people to come in and see, so they can get on board.
Right.
After that, they can live their own life.
We write them to be evergreen mostly. If they're not specifically about a holiday or a season, then we write them. I mean, and
we don't do
audiences are sophisticated enough to know, like, if I'm talking about such and such happened in August, like, You know that now is not August, but you can accept that there was a past. You don't like smash your computer and like, what?
We're not a current events.
Yeah, we're not current events. So, and that's all. That's all. Time passes.
Time.
But before we move on, Western Toilet.
Oh yeah.
The video this week, our music video, Western Toilet is our music video channel that accompanies because Peter, if you're new, Peter composes all our soundtracks. Those are all original compositions. And then, so he makes a music video to go with it, and then we put it up on the music.
On our sister site, Western Toilet.
Western Toilet.
Our band, Western Toilet.
Go like that on YouTube.
Yep.
So the music video you made is about time, which goes with our contemplation of time video. Is there anything you can say about that?
It's just extra footage. For the most part, the Western Toilet videos are extra footage from what we shoot.
Yeah.
So this one is just some speeded up versions of things that you shot. I mean, essentially, it's a music channel, so it's for music. If there's something else extra to look at, then that's nice. Sometimes there may be a little bit more of an artsy bent to it, but like it's basically just like a screen animation to go along.
Little visualizer.
Visualizer, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because the intent is, if you're not interested in China's stories, but you might like this music.
Right.
It's another way for you to enjoy our art. But like we put them up also on SoundCloud, which has no video component, so it is like it's music.
Our burgeoning radio station
It's
is now
real
both a music format and a talk radio format.
Yeah.
As we're building that up to be.
Yeah. So that was a lot of videos this week.
Yeah.
Let's recommend someone else's content.
With Watch It?
Watch it.
Watch it.
Our Watch It this week is the return of The Tick, which is on Amazon streaming.
Oh, I think so.
Is that correct? The Tick, if you are unfamiliar, is a comic book hero that kind of turns comic book tropes on their head in a very comedic way. The Tick himself is a big blue tick whose origin
nigh
is...
and vulnerable.
He's nigh and vulnerable, and his origin is unknown. And he's like really bombastic parody of like ultra earnest, I would say patriotic, but he's not necessarily an American.
No.
But he believes in justice and...
Part of the whole premise is that you won't actually know what his powers are or where he's from. Is he from space? Where he's just the quintessential hero, kind of a doofus, but always well-meaning.
And this show on Amazon is like the fourth iteration of...
Well, it started as a comic in the 80s.
Yeah.
And became a cartoon in the 90s.
Yeah, which was my introduction to it.
And then was a TV show with...
Patrick Warburton.
And then, so this is the fourth version. The most interesting part is that it's all been under the handwork of the creator, which is, I don't know if that's ever really happened. Crossing mediums.
Yeah, he's been really involved, right?
Yeah, he's at the core of everything, I think.
Ben Edlund? Yeah. And I love The Tick so much that this Watch It is for all of those. I would say the Fox TV show suffered from big ambitions and low budget. That was
the Warburton.
Yeah. That it was hilarious, true to the spirit, but it always felt like
a little too cheeky.
A little much like the sets were made of cardboard and falling over in a way that didn't enhance the vision of what the show was.
Even from the comic book, it was a black and white comic book, so it's always had like this really scrappy indie feel to it. I think the Fox version was a little too much budget, but not enough budget at the same time. It was waffling somewhere in between of being
Yeah,
too
I think
slick.
there's a way to pull off low budget, but they were aiming for not low budget with a low budget.
Yeah.
A key component is Arthur, the sidekick, who is his name and his superhero name is Arthur, and he's an accountant and
I'm off.
mostly unwilling to be.
He eventually comes around.
Yeah, but in a great way. I will say about the cartoon, which I think is rights locked up in rights issues and hard to find. I think it's not on DVD.
Yeah.
But there are ways to find it. Maybe, I don't know.
Probably.
That as a kid was my first introduction to the idea of like a sitcom silliness with the continuity of a comic book. I was not a comic book reader really when I was a kid. So this was my introduction to the idea like that things changed over time and stayed changed. The big example being when Chairface tries to engrave his name on the moon and only gets into CHA, the moon for the rest of the series has Cha written across the front of it, which I like. I was delighted by that. I was delighted by the idea that like things could change and stay changed and not necessarily
reboot every episode.
Mean anything either. And I just thought that was fabulous.
It's kind of unique too for cartoons at the time because that was something that you could do in the comic book that was very much a part of what the creator had put in there. To transfer that over to cartoons, the Saturday morning cartoons, was pretty like there was nothing like that at all on TV at that time. So it again retaining the voice of the creator is just not something that happens between Hollywood and comic books.
And it's a good example of
until now, sort of.
I mean, would you say The Tick was on Saturday mornings, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So it was for kids, but maybe had a grown-up audience from the comic book?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was on like when I was in college. So like there was like all my friends, we all sit around on our Saturday mornings.
College kids are kind of grown-ups.
Yeah.
But I think because that was the age of the Simpsons and the Fox animation block.
Just post that, really.
Wherein it was a cartoon that didn't really take advantage of being a cartoon visually, and like it was just a sitcom, and crazy things wouldn't happen.
I don't.
But The Tick was a cartoon that was a cartoon, so it would do things that you could not do with a real cast until now we have effects.
Even
we have
with,
cheaper effects.
Promoting, like, I don't think it had toys, but like it wasn't like a toy line that like took off or anything like it. That was kind of a failure. Yeah. Which for 90s cartoons is ridiculous. Like, that's the only reason they existed.
Right. Right. Yeah. But so that's the cartoon, and then the current show. I mean, the Fox show is okay, but I don't have much more to say about it.
I watched it twice. It was good.
The current show, I think, really captures, again, the spirit with a whole new twist on it. Patrick Warburton is an executive producer on the new one, but he has been replaced by Peter Serafinowicz.
Hilarious. Which
is like, I never thought about it, but if I wanted a cousin to Patrick Warburton, it would be Peter Serafinowicz. It's a perfect. He makes the character his own, but doesn't like. It doesn't like.
He might be.
It doesn't retroactively discredit Patrick Warburton's Tick. They both are valid, and I like them both.
As much as Warburton was perfect, I would say that this version is a little bit more like the Tick from the comics and the cartoon.
Yeah, I think what I like about Warburton is that he is a little ironically detached, whereas Serafinowicz is all in.
Yeah, he's earnestly,
and that's what makes the Tick. The Tick says things like, "I have a helping of justice for breakfast and a cup of coffee afterwards."
And you believe it.
Yeah, you want those lines to land, and they do. And I think Amazon has given them the right amount of money, that it's not like tech spectacular, but it doesn't look like it's shoddily made.
Well, I think the difference with that is that there's big effects. There's like a 200-foot naked man walking around
Right,
with like
right.
missiles shooting in his ears and crazy. Some of it's actual effects of like costuming, some of it's digital, and none of it is really that focused on looking exactly real. It's more about like looking cool, stylized. So
Right.
It can be kind of cheap, but kind of exciting and really artistic at the same time.
Yeah, and they dabble a little in the first episode of the first season. The second season just came back, which is why we're
Talking about it
recommending
now.
this now. But the first season, they dabble slightly with, like, when Arthur meets the tick, is Arthur crazy? But I like, actually, that they dispense with that pretty quickly. Like, no, Arthur's not crazy. Because I think it's a kind of a cheap job to pull out someone, to tease mental illness as maybe all of this is made up. This is 2018. This is 2019. I think that being like an ironic twist that the person was crazy all along it's been done.
Yeah.
And so it turns out that Arthur does have mental health issues and the tick is real, which I like. I like that as the character.
Right. It's not turning him into a crazy superhero.
Yeah.
He has his own issues, but he's also a superhero.
Right, and that, you can have mental health issues and live a life. It doesn't, like, totally make you a psycho.
And that actor, I forget his name. Is
Arthur.
In real life?
No, the guy who plays Arthur.
His name Arthur?
No, then clarify, you're talking about Arthur?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know his real name either.
Neither do I, but he's great. He's perfect for it.
Yeah.
He's also like a real nerd. There's a great interview with him on Patrick H. Willems' YouTube channel that you can find that just came out. And I guess he has a podcast that I've yet to listen to, but I'm planning on it.
Arthur?
Yeah, Arthur.
Yeah. So that's our watch it for the week. The Tick. It's on Amazon streaming. Yep, whatever they're called.
Something.
I mean, Amazon's...
Just look up Tick, you'll find it.
Yeah, Amazon's taking over the world, but the show is good. So, noodles to you?
And we're out.